Trees were here before us. They're more important, right? Just kidding. My name is Macy, and I am a registered forester. Forestry is not a new practice, and a lot of the things that I have learned have come from other people, and they just stuck. These are my rules of forestry. Rule number 1, always carry a key. So you always have your key or your combination to the lock on the gate to get in. Otherwise, you're annoying somebody. That one was the only one that I have formed for myself. There was a day in my internship where I was tasked with taking a lock to a gate. And I put the lock on my belt loop, and I did not have the key. And what did Macy do? Macy decided it'd be a good idea to close the lock on the belt loop so that it wouldn't come off of her pants on the way to the gate. And once she got there, she couldn't get the lock back off of her belt loop to put it on the gate. So that was my very first exposure. Rule number 2 is to always work your way back to your truck. So instead of having to just have a long hike back at the end of the day, you work your way in a circle around the property so that you're always being productive and your end goal is always your truck. Dr. Richard Bram, the dendrology professor at NC State, taught me that one. Rule number 3 is to pick up any trash that you see in the woods. There was one day where I picked up 5 5-gallon buckets of trash on a logging job. The 5-gallon buckets was actually part of the trash. So I picked up the buckets and I filled them up with everything. People assume that if they don't make the trash, then they don't need to pick it up. But if they don't pick it up and it's out in the middle of the woods and they're the only person who's probably seen it in weeks, months, or years, then they're probably the last person to see it for weeks, months, or years. So just pick it up. Rule number 4, always have a backup, a hard copy for when your technology fails. Because as great as technology is, there will be a day where it does not work. And if you don't have a backup, then you cannot do your job. I learned on the hard copies at school because they wanted us to learn how to use pen and paper before we used our technology the way of the old foresters. Part of forestry is the art of just knowing how to do it. And if you have a computer that tells you how to do everything, then you don't actually know the discipline and you don't know the art of it. If you can't draw a hand map, if you don't know how to read a topo map and look at the way the land lays around you, can you really locate yourself? Rule number 5, everybody needs a good snack. When I was riding around with another forestry consultant, he was pointing out all of the shops, little gas station, mountain shops that have sandwiches. And he said, there's one thing that you need to know. Remember where you can get a sandwich or a candy bar at the end of the day. If I had to describe myself as a forester, I would probably say my management will be guided by the natural primary use, which comes from the wildlife and then the existing health of the forest, while also promoting good health and good growth for future use by humans. And then when the time comes for humans to have an entry into that forest, it's done thoughtfully and cleanly, and it is left in a manner that can be regenerated without concern. The trees are going to go on without us, whether we manage them or not. But as people, we have the ability to choose methods that are beneficial and improve the overall health for the trees and the existing wildlife as a whole.
Vieni, vieni fra queste